For one of the most unforgettable views in the world, you'll have to navigate slippery staircases, terrifying vertical ascents, and an extremely hazardous plank trail constructed hundreds of years ago. You better hold tight to that rope, because you're about to find out why they call this the most dangerous hike in the world.
You like the feeling of floating on air. Yeah. But if you can't put matter over mind, you're better off keeping your feet on the ground.
Is it possible to build a temple that hangs off a cliff? Or a city where buildings cling to steep mountains like they're defying gravity? It sounds like something out of a movie, but in China, it's real. China has mastered the art of building in extreme places. Whether it's ancient temples perched on rock faces, skyscrapers rising from mountains, or glass bridges suspended over canyons, China's architecture blends with nature in ways that seem almost impossible. But how is it made possible? Let's find out. If there's one place that defies gravity, it's the Hanging Temple in Shanxi Province. Clinging to a sheer cliff face, 75 meters above the ground, it looks like something straight out of a fantasy novel. Yet, it has stood for over 1,500 years, outlasting earthquakes, floods, and even modern buildings that crumble within decades.
An ancient monastery clutching at a cliff with nothing but wooden beams. This truly engineering marvel can be found in northern China's Shanxi province, known as the Hanging Temple of Datong.
The secret? Brilliant engineering. Instead of sitting on flat ground, the temple's wooden beams extend deep into the rock, anchoring it securely. This design allows it to absorb seismic shocks, making it more stable than you'd ever imagine. But why build it this way? In ancient times, floods and invasions wiped out structures on lower ground. By placing the temple on a cliff, monks protected it from both nature and enemies. More than just a shelter, it became a sacred place where Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism merged into one. A rare example of unity in philosophy. Today, visitors who step onto the narrow corridors feel something strange. The temple appears fragile, yet every step feels surprisingly firm. That's the magic of Chinese engineering. It makes the impossible possible. And if you think a single temple clinging to a cliff is impressive, what if I told you there's an entire city built on cliffs? A place where people don't just visit, but live. Welcome to Chongqing. If the Hanging Temple is an example of ancient engineering, Chongqing is proof that China has taken it to an entirely new level. Imagine a city where buildings rise directly from mountains, where roads snake through cliffs and tunnels, and where even trains pass through skyscrapers. It sounds surreal, but in Chongqing, it's just daily life. Unlike most cities that spread horizontally, Chongqing had no choice but to build vertically. Its landscape is brutal, steep mountains, deep valleys, and unpredictable terrain. But instead of avoiding it, engineers used China's signature ingenuity to create a city that thrives on what others would see as an obstacle. Take the famous train that runs straight through a residential building. It's not a mistake. It's a masterpiece of urban planning. Instead of demolishing the mountain or the building, engineers found a way to make them coexist perfectly. The result? A city where you might enter your apartment on the 13th floor, but exit on the 5th floor, depending on which side of the mountain you step out from.
In Chongqing, you may have a little trouble locating the ground floor. Even on this square, which seems like the ground floor, the street is right over there. But if you look over here, you're actually on the 22nd floor.
It's a city that refuses to be limited by nature, proving that when it comes to turning the impossible into reality, China leads the way. But what if we took this gravity-defying creativity even further? Imagine walking on air with nothing but glass between you and a 300-meter drop. Sounds terrifying? That's exactly what Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge is all about. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos related to China. Let's continue now. Some structures challenge gravity, But the Zhangjiajie glass bridge does something even crazier. It challenges your mind. Walking on it feels like stepping into the sky itself, with nothing but transparent glass separating you from the canyon 300 meters below. Located in Zhangjiajie National Forest Park, this bridge stretches between towering cliffs, offering one of the most terrifying yet thrilling experiences in the world. If the landscape looks familiar, it's because these cliffs inspired the floating mountains in Avatar. But this isn't just about thrills. The bridge is an engineering marvel. It's made of ultra-strong tempered glass that can withstand sledgehammers, high winds, and even the weight of a car. Engineers tested it by having people smash it with hammers, yet it remained intact. Still, for those brave enough to walk across, the challenge isn't the structure itself, it's your fear. Some freeze midway, unable to take another step. Others crawl across, gripping the railing for dear life. But those who push forward experience something unforgettable, a moment where the line between earth and sky disappears. But if you think walking across a glass bridge is scary, imagine walking on a narrow wooden plank, bolted into the side of a mountain, with nothing but air beneath you. That's what awaits on Mount Hua's Plank Walk. If there's one place that separates the brave from the terrified, it's the Mount Hua Plank Walk. This is not your average hiking trail. It's a narrow wooden path bolted directly into a vertical rock face with a 2,000-meter drop below. Originally built centuries ago by monks seeking spiritual enlightenment, this walkway was never meant to be a tourist attraction. Yet today, thousands of thrill seekers travel here, eager to test their limits. The experience is not for the faint of heart. You start by clipping yourself to a single safety harness, then stepping onto wooden planks barely wide enough for your feet. Below, just empty air. Many don't walk, they crawl. Some even turn back halfway. Yet, despite its terrifying nature, this walkway has stood the test of time. Its ancient design, combined with modern safety enhancements, keeps it secure, allowing daredevils to push their limits in one of the world's most extreme locations. China is not just famous for hanging temples and glass bridges, it has roads that defy logic and gravity. Among them, the Guoliang Tunnel stands out as one of the most insane roads ever built. This 1.2-kilometer tunnel wasn't created by large construction firms with advanced machinery. No, it was carved by hand through a vertical mountain by a group of determined villagers. For centuries, the people of Guoliang village were cut off from the rest of the world, trapped by the cliffs that surrounded them. Roads didn't exist, and the only way in or out was a treacherous climb up rocky mountain paths. Frustrated by their isolation, a small group of villagers took on a seemingly impossible mission. They decided to carve a road straight through the rock, using nothing but hammers and chisels. The result? A breathtakingly dangerous yet incredibly beautiful tunnel that clings to the edge of the mountain like something out of a fantasy film. The walls of the tunnel are not smooth, polished concrete. They are raw, rugged rock, giving it a wild, almost prehistoric feel. Along the sides, windows have been carved directly into the stone, offering stunning and terrifying views of the abyss below. It's often called the road that does not tolerate mistakes, and for good reason. There are no guardrails, no barriers, no second chances. One wrong move and a vehicle could plummet straight down the vertical drop. Yet, despite its extreme danger, the road has become a must-visit for thrill seekers and adventurers who dare to drive along its narrow, winding path. Today, the Guoliang Tunnel stands as a monument to human determination and ingenuity. Proof that when people refuse to accept limitations, they can literally carve a path through the impossible. And that's the true essence of Chinese architecture. Whether it's a temple hanging from a cliff, a city built on mountains, a glass bridge floating in the air, or a walkway where fear meets courage, China doesn't just build structures, it redefines what's possible. From the Hanging Temple's 1,500-year resilience to Chongqing's futuristic mountain city, from the Zhangjiajie glass bridge's mind-bending illusion to Mount Hua's death-defying plank walk, one thing is clear: China builds where others wouldn't even dare. This is not just about construction, it's about vision, about seeing a mountain not as an obstacle but as an opportunity. It's about refusing to be limited by nature and instead working with it to create something extraordinary. And if China can build on cliffs, in mountains, and even in the sky, what's next? Floating cities? Underground skyscrapers? Whatever it is, one thing is certain: China will build it. What do you think? Can anyone beat China? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: China's projects, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.